There's a $1 liquid sitting in your laundry room right now that eats rust faster than any $20 chemical on the shelf. It does not scrub, it does not grind. It literally reverses the oxidation process at the atomic level. Museums use this to save Titanic artifacts. The British Navy used it in 1832. But you are still scrubbing metal by hand with wire brushes like a caveman because a $10 billion chemical industry needs you to believe rust is permanent. It is not. This is not vinegar, not laser ablation. 1832. Physics at the deepest level. No scrubbing, no grinding, no toxic fumes, no expensive kits. It takes a plastic bucket of water and an old phone charger you were about to throw away. If you knew how to turn a tub into a molecular time machine for pennies, 3 major retail chains would lose 12% of their auto care revenue overnight. They built an empire on your ignorance, and it is a damn shame because you are paying for problems that were solved in 1832. This is the suppressed story of electrolysis and the silence that keeps you scrubbing. Welcome to Mr. Dude Explained. We do not just fix things here, we decode the forgotten physics behind them. Subscribing is not just watching, it is joining a rebellion against disposable culture. Stay here, because to understand this, we must go back to 1832 London. Michael Faraday stands in the basement of the Royal Institution on a damp London afternoon in 1832. The air smells of sharp ozone and damp stone. He's not trying to fix a rusty fender. He is trying to understand the invisible spine of the universe. He connects a primitive voltaic pile, a crude stack of copper and zinc disks, to 2 electrodes submerged in a saline solution. He watches. He waits in the dim light. Most men would see nothing but bubbling, cloudy water. Faraday sees a revolution. He notices that under the influence of an electrical current, metal does not just sit there, it travels. He observes that the current literally pulls ions from one surface and deposits them on another. He writes in his journal that the amount of chemical action is directly proportional to the quantity of electricity passed. This is the birth of the laws of electrolysis. He realizes that oxidation, the orange cancer we call rust, is not a permanent death sentence for metal. It is simply an electrochemical transaction that can be refunded. If nature used oxygen to steal electrons from iron to create rust, Faraday proved you could use a battery to force the oxygen to give them back. The rust does not need to be scraped off. It can be chemically detached. He watches as the bond breaks. The metal creates a stream of hydrogen bubbles, gently lifting the corrosion away without removing a single atom of the healthy steel underneath. It is silent. It is motionless. It is chemically perfect. This was not a product launch. It was a rewriting of reality. For the next century, this remained a tool for the elite. Marine salvage teams used it to restore cannons hauled from the ocean floor. Museum curators used it to save Roman coins that were unrecognizable lumps of green decay. They knew that mechanical grinding destroys the history along with the rust. But electrolysis is surgical. It saves the patient while killing the disease. You possess this exact power. You have a phone charger that outputs 5 volts. You have water. You have the simple chemical catalyst. You are standing in the middle of a laboratory that rivals Faraday's, yet you are still buying sandpaper. The principle of 1832 never changed, but who controls it did. And Faraday was not alone. The British Royal Navy adopted it to maintain iron hulls against the relentless salt of the Atlantic. They did not scrape, they electrified. In Detroit, master restorers quietly used it to save impossible-to-find fenders on 1930s Duesenbergs. They dipped entire panels into massive vats of charged solution, watching the orange rust simply lift away into the water. In the Mediterranean, marine archaeologists used it to recover the Antikythera mechanism's fragments from 2,000 years of calcified crust. The Navy fought corrosion. The mechanics fought scarcity. The scientists fought time. All 3 arrived at the same 1832 truth. That is not a coincidence. That is universal law confirming that rust is reversible. It is a chemical receipt that can be refunded at any moment. But somewhere between the high seas and your local garage, this knowledge vanished from the consumer shelf. Fast forward to 1950 in a cold corporate boardroom. The mid-century marked the birth of the single-use economy. Chemical giants realized that selling a permanent solution was a terrible business model. If you teach a man to reverse rust with electricity, you sell him a bucket once. If you sell him acid-based removers and abrasive pads, he becomes a customer for life. This is where the narrative shifted. The industry began marketing rust as a permanent defect, something that must be ground away and covered up. They suppressed the electrochemical truth. Rust is iron oxide, Fe2O3. It is simply iron that has bonded with oxygen. When you grind it, you are removing the rust, but you are also removing the healthy metal underneath, thinning the part until it eventually fails. Electrolysis is different. It uses a direct current to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen accumulates on the rusty part, which acts as the cathode. This hydrogen reduces the iron oxide back into pure iron and releases the oxygen as a gas. It does not eat the metal, it rebuilds the surface structure. It is the only method that distinguishes between the disease and the patient. So the industry did what monopolies always do when threatened by efficiency. They buried it. They did not ban it. They simply made it obscure. You will not find an electrolysis kit at AutoZone or Home Depot. Instead, you find rows of phosphoric acid that convert rust into a black crust, or abrasive wheels that throw sparks and weaken the steel. But while they sold you destructive chemicals, the professionals kept using the 1832 method. Fast forward to a modern shipyard in Norway. A massive propeller shaft, corroded by decades of North Sea salt, is lowered into a tank the size of a swimming pool. The engineers do not touch it with a grinder. They connect a massive DC rectifier, add sodium carbonate, and walk away. 3 days later, they lift it out. The rust is gone. The original machining marks from 50 years ago are visible again. This is not magic. It is simple electron transfer. The rust literally fell off as sludge. If they had used a grinder, that shaft would be scrap metal. This is the difference between restoration and destruction. The professionals use electricity to save the integrity of the part. You use acid to burn it away, and nobody has felt the cost of this suppression more than you. Right now, your tools, your car parts, your cast iron pans are degrading because you were taught that rust is terminal. It is not. It is simply a battery waiting to be recharged. The industry knows this. They know that a $5 bucket setup outperforms a $50 bottle of their miracle remover. That is why they never packaged it. You cannot patent a bucket of water and a battery charger. There is no recurring revenue in a solution that uses electricity you already pay for, and a chemical that costs pennies per pound. They kept the truth in the industrial sector while selling you the lie of disposable hardware. The restoration of your property is beautiful, almost like resurrection. The profit margin on your ignorance is cold, calculated, and massive. Walk down the chemical aisle of any auto parts store. You will see shelves of expensive bottles promising to dissolve rust. Flip them over. They are almost all phosphoric or hydrochloric acid. These harsh acids do not just eat rust, they eat the healthy steel you're trying to save. They work by destruction. The industry loves them because they are consumables. You use the bottle, it is gone, and you buy another. Electrolysis is the opposite. The chemical catalyst is sodium carbonate. It does not get consumed in the reaction. It just facilitates the electron flow. You can use the same bath for years. This is why you never see it advertised. It destroys the repeat customer. Every time you throw away a perfectly good rusty tool, they profit. Every time you buy a replacement part, they profit. Every time you buy sandpaper, they profit. They have monetized your belief that metal dies. But the cure is hiding in plain sight. It is likely sitting in your laundry room right now, labeled as washing soda, or in your pool shed as pH increaser. It is the exact same chemical compound. The barrier to entry is not money. It is the label on the box. You have been walking past the solution for decades, paying 20 times the price for a liquid that damages your property. It is essentially free, but before you plug anything into the wall, you need to know about the invisible gas this process creates. This knowledge has been deliberately hidden. If you've learned something you will use forever, consider joining the channel. Subscribing is how we continue revealing what industries bury. Share this with one person who restores old tools, but stay right here because you are about to build a literal time machine. The process creates hydrogen gas, which is odorless and flammable. You cannot do this in a closet. You need real ventilation. Also, this only works on conductive metals like iron or steel. It will not fix aluminum or chrome plating. It removes paint if the rust is underneath it. It is not instant magic. It takes hours, sometimes overnight. But unlike grinding, you can sleep while it works. The beauty is in the patience. It requires no effort, just time. The setup is simple, but the chemistry is profound. So let's start the transformation right now. Let's build your reactor. First, take a 5-gallon plastic bucket. Fill it with water until it covers the part you want to clean. Do not use metal buckets. Next, add your electrolyte. This is simply washing soda, which is sodium carbonate. Add 1 tablespoon per gallon. Stir it until it dissolves completely. You are creating a conductive path for the 1832 reaction to occur. Now, prepare your power. You can use that old phone charger by stripping the wires, or a car battery charger for more speed. Connect the positive red wire to a sacrificial anode, a scrap piece of steel like rebar or a bolt. Submerge it, but keep the connection dry above the waterline. Then, suspend your rusty part in the water using a wire hook. Connect the negative black wire to your part. Ensure the 2 pieces of metal do not touch underwater, or you will short the circuit. Finally, turn on the power. You will see tiny bubbles rising from your part immediately. That is hydrogen gas lifting the rust away. Let it run for 12 hours. When you pull it out, the rust wipes off like black sludge, revealing the clean, gray steel underneath. You just saved your tools with laundry soap and a phone charger. The cost is pennies for electricity. The time is overnight while you sleep. The result is chemically perfect metal that no grinder could ever achieve. And this invisible 1832 miracle is happening right now in shipyards across the globe. It is the exact same physics used to preserve the world's most precious artifacts. Now compare that to the alternative. A single bottle of Evapo rust costs $30 and only cleans a few pounds of steel before it is exhausted. An angle grinder with wire wheels costs even more, throws dust into your lungs and removes the healthy metal along with the rust. It destroys the original surface finish. Electrolysis costs 5 cents per gallon. It removes only the oxide. It preserves every stamp mark, every thread, every detail of the original machining. The British Navy knew this. The Detroit restorers knew this. The archaeologists knew this. It is infinitely scalable. You can treat a single bolt in a cup or a car fender in a kiddie pool. The chemistry scales perfectly. But right here, right now, you just bypassed an entire industry designed to make you pay for destruction. And nobody has been hit harder by this suppression than the person trying to save their grandfather's tools. The laws of physics do not care about quarterly earnings. They do not care about flashy packaging or marketing budgets. The electron transfer that Faraday discovered in 1832 is as true today as it was in that cold London basement. It was never wrong. It was just unprofitable. But the truth is still sitting in your laundry room right now. It is waiting in the scrap metal pile behind your shed. The British Navy used this to keep fleets afloat. The museum curators used this to save history from the crushing pressure of the ocean. The hot rodders used this to save chrome from the junkyard. And now you are using it to save a simple wrench that belonged to your father, restoring the grip he once held. You are opting out of a $10 billion rust removal industry. You are skipping the $30 acid bottles. You are ignoring the $15 wire wheels. You are spending pennies on water and electricity to achieve a result that money literally cannot buy. This is not just cleaning metal. This is a resurrection of the past using the lightning of the future. Rust is not a death sentence for your history. It is just a temporary disguise waiting for a spark. It is a reversal of time itself. The metal remembers its original form, and now, so do you. Subscribing here preserves these lost arts. Share this video to help someone rescue what they love. The next tool in our arsenal opens a lock you didn't know you had.